Let's talk about something that so many of us struggle with. It's this weird paradox, right? You have these huge, incredible dreams for your life, but at the same time, you feel totally and completely paralyzed. It's like you can see the finish line, clear as day, but you feel like you're chained to the starting block. So together, we're going to unpack the psychology behind this and hopefully find the key to finally break free.
I mean, does this feel familiar to you? You're just buzzing with ideas, you know? Deep down, you are capable of so much more, but when it's actually time to do the work, nothing. You just freeze up. You might be what we call an ambitious procrastinator, and that gap, that space between who you want to be and what you're actually doing every day, man, it can be incredibly painful.
And this whole thing usually plays out in this really frustrating, just vicious loop. You wake up thinking, okay, today's the day, for real this time. But then, the phone comes out, a few minutes of scrolling turns into an hour, and poof, the day is gone. You end the night feeling guilty, disappointed, and you promise yourself, okay, tomorrow will be different. And then the cycle just repeats. So, here is the most important thing to get right away. This is not happening because you're lazy or you're not smart or you lack talent. This is not some deep character flaw. It is a psychological pattern, a set of habits your brain has built up over time. And you know what the good news is? If a pattern was built, it can be understood and it can absolutely be changed.
So let's get into what is actually going on inside your head. Why do you feel so incredibly stuck? Well, it pretty much all comes down to your brain operating in this kind of misguided survival mode.
So inside your head, there's this constant battle going on. On one side, you have your ambitious brain. This is the part that dreams big, right? It wants growth, success, that long-term happiness. But on the other side, you've got your comfort brain, and its only job is to keep you safe. It wants ease, it wants to avoid pain, and it despises uncertainty and the possibility of failure. And right now, your comfort brain is winning. And here's the tricky part. Here's how your brain reinforces this whole pattern. See, when you choose an easy, comfortable task, like scrolling on your phone, instead of working on your goal, your brain gives you a little reward, a little hit of a chemical called dopamine. This literally trains you on a biological level to believe that avoiding your big goals is the fastest way to feel good. So let me be super clear about this. This is not laziness. Your brain genuinely thinks it's protecting you. It sees all the effort, the uncertainty, and the potential for failure that comes with your big goal, and it labels it as a threat. And its number one job is to steer you away from threats and towards safety, which, in this case, means the couch and your phone.
Now, beyond that basic survival instinct, there are a couple of major psychological blockers that keep ambitious people stuck. And they're sneaky because they often masquerade as logic, but really, they're traps. So let's unmask them.
So first up is the big one, perfectionism. This is that little voice in your head that says, oh, I can't start yet, the plan isn't perfect, or I'll start when I have more time. Or my personal favorite, I just need to learn a little more first. It's an endless waiting game for these ideal conditions that, let's be honest, are never, ever going to arrive.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. Perfectionism isn't really about having high standards. It's about being afraid. It's your brain creating this very noble-sounding excuse to never actually put yourself out there. Because if you never start, hey, you can never fail, right? So what's the real fear under all of that? What's the core fear? It's the fear of trying your absolute best and finding out that maybe you aren't as brilliant or as capable as you are in your dreams. It's so much easier to live in the fantasy where your potential is limitless than to actually test that potential in the real world and risk disappointment. But here's a crucial mindset shift we have to make. We often think that failure is the opposite of success. It's not. Inaction is. See, when you fail, you get feedback. You learn something. When you do nothing, you stay exactly where you are, stuck. I promise you, every successful person you admire has a long trail of failures behind them, and those failures taught them way more than doing nothing ever could have. Okay, so we've diagnosed the problem, we've looked at the psychology, now for the good part. How do we fix it? Let's move to the practical, concrete steps you can actually take to break this cycle and start building some real momentum. First things first, we have to accept a really important truth. You are probably never going to wake up feeling perfectly motivated to do the hard thing. Motivation? It's just an emotion. It comes and it goes. So the goal is not to wait for motivation to strike. The goal is to build the discipline to take action even when, and maybe especially when, you don't feel like it.
So here is the game plan. It's simple. Step 1, start incredibly small.
I'm not talking write a chapter. I'm talking write one sentence. Step 2, focus on being consistent, not perfect. Just show up. That's the win. Step 3, design your environment for success. And step 4, shift your time from just consuming content about what you want to do to actually doing the thing.
And this brings us to a huge insight. The people who get things done, they don't necessarily have more willpower than you, they just have better systems. They understand that this is a design problem, not a willpower problem. They literally design their lives to make the right actions easier and the wrong actions harder. So what does that actually look like? It's really simple, concrete stuff. Put your phone in another room when you need to focus. Turn off all those notifications. Clean your desk. Set a specific, sacred time for deep work. Close all those extra browser tabs. You see, every little distraction you remove is one less decision you have to make, and that frees up your mental energy for what truly matters.
Oh man, this is so important. You have to give yourself permission to be a beginner. Your first article, your first workout, your first video, your first anything, it's probably going to be bad, and that is perfectly okay. It is part of the process. Right now, the goal isn't to be great. The goal is just to start. Consistency is what builds the habit, and quality, that'll follow over time.
All right, let's bring all this together. How do we make this change last? How do you finally bridge that gap and go from being a dreamer to being a doer?
First off, you have to stop beating yourself up. That guilt you feel at the end of a long day of procrastinating, it doesn't motivate you. It just paralyzes you and reinforces this idea that you're not good enough. When you have a bad day, and trust me, you will, practice some self-compassion. Talk to yourself like you would a good friend. Acknowledge the setback and just focus on getting back on track.
And please remember this powerful distinction. Lazy is not who you are. It's a behavior you've been doing. Who you are is someone with dreams and ambition and the potential to achieve them. When you separate your identity from your actions, you give yourself the power to change those actions. At the end of the day, it really just comes down to this. Ambition without action, it's just a pleasant daydream. It's the action, the messy, imperfect, consistent work, that's what turns a fantasy into a reality. So, the time for waiting is over. Waiting for motivation, waiting for the perfect plan, waiting till you feel ready, it's all just a trap. The only way to feel ready is to start. The only way to build momentum is to take that first tiny step. And that brings us to the final and most crucial question. Not what you're going to do tomorrow or next week, but what you can do today, right now. What is the one ridiculously small action you can take to move forward? Because that is how real change actually begins.